Welcome to RightFit Leader, a podcast from Alec Broadfoot and the Hire with Confidence team at Vision Spark. This is where visionaries, entrepreneurs, and leaders learn how to hire leaders, lead better, and build teams that last. Through expert insights, real client stories, and conversations with top leaders, you will hear how we find A players for your business. This is RightFit Leader.
Welcome back to the RightFit Leader Podcast, where we explore how visionaries can elevate their leadership, surround themselves with the right people, and scale their companies without losing the culture and core values that matter most. I'm your host, Alec Broadfoot, and today we welcome someone who deeply understands the power of clarity, wisdom sharing, and scaling what makes companies truly exceptional. Our guest today is Rob Levin. Rob is a serial entrepreneur with 30 years of experience helping small and mid-sized businesses run better businesses. In 2018, he co-founded WorkBetterNow, a game-changing venture that provides U.S. small to mid-sized businesses with exceptional full-time talent from Latin America. Today, WBN is a proud Inc. 5000 company that has helped hundreds of businesses grow despite an increasingly challenging talent market. Rob is the best-selling author of the New Talent Playbook, the ultimate guide for building your dream team, author of the New Talent Playbook Substack, and host of the New Talent Playbook podcast, where he shares practical insights on building and leading high-performing teams and driving breakthrough results. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Alec.
Yeah. So tell me about the problems that your clients, that you solve, that you help your clients solve. What are some of those problems that you help them solve?
Well, I'm going to start with a broad view, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually curious your take on this as well. The talent market, and what I like to say is the talent game has changed dramatically over the past, I'm going to call it 6 years, but you can say 6 to 10 years. The pandemic really changed a lot, first of all, it's harder than ever for small and mid-sized businesses, which is the market that I know really well, to find great talent at all levels. And when I say great talent, I mean people that are engaged, they have a psychological connection to the job, they're giving it their all for 8 or so hours a day. They have an ownership type of mentality. It's the kind of people that you need in a small business, because unlike a large business, in a small business, every single seat counts. So that it has changed dramatically. There's fewer people, by the way, who are engaged in the workforce, and those people, those top performers, they're looking for things that they weren't necessarily looking for 10 years ago. It may not even be the same day, but that market, that segment of the market, is looking for a lot of different things than. For those people who've been owners or have been running businesses for some time, this might be kind of new for some people. So what our clients are turning to us for is for that level of people that's between entry level and managerial. They're just struggling to find great people, and that's what they come to us for. And we provide them with high performing talent that's based out of Latin America.
Yeah, and so. Share some of the services, some of the different types of talent that you help small to mid-sized businesses.
Yeah, I like to think about it in terms of departments, right? So we have customer service professionals. You and I were talking before the call about sales. We have people who do inside sales. That includes people on our team that we took from the same pool. We have people that are sales coordinators. We have people who are marketing coordinators, and that could be a very wide range of things. Executive assistants, and we're seeing that it's not just business owners now that are seeing the power of assistants so that they can focus on their unique ability. It's also the executives. And then also the finance department. So whether it's accounts receivables or payables or even bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm. And that's your background, right? Is on that accounting side of the business, right?
Yeah, many years ago, I was well, it was so long ago. It was the big six of accounting, I was a tax professional at one of those big firms.
Yeah, so you don't pay any taxes now, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's really funny. I just reviewed my tax extension, and the returns are so much more complicated than they were, you know, when I was a practitioner 30 years ago. I mean, crazy complicated. I just looked at my son's return, and he's in college. It's a lot of pages. Yeah, it's a different game. I don't pretend to be a knowledgeable tax expert anymore.
Yeah, I just helped one of my kids with their tax returns, and they graduated from college and have a real job. And I'm like, oh my, this is tough. So, I want to talk to you about, some of the advantages businesses see using offshore as a way to save money, right? Is that true?
Well, it is, but there's a big but there.
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing now, I think in the early days, like 5-10 years ago, of small and mid-sized businesses hiring offshore, it was thought of as a money-saving thing. That's why they're doing it. What we're seeing now is companies are now realizing, wait a second, I can get great talent, maybe better than I can hire locally. And the other trend that we're seeing is, and by the way, of course, you will save money because the cost of living is lower in most parts of the world than it is in the United States. What we're also seeing now is in the small and mid-sized business market, people are now seeing offshore or nearshore just as an extension of remote, which is really what it is. Depending on who you're working with, and if you're doing it yourself, it might be a little bit more complicated. But if you're working with talent partners, it actually could be easier than hiring locally.
And it's interesting you mentioned that you can almost find better talent. We have 2 offshore people that work for Vision Spark. They support our marketing coordinator, our marketing manager, and we had them take our TIP assessment, which measures their mental acuity learning style. And it's measured on a 1 to 9 scale. And so it's on a Stay-9 curve. So like the average US college graduate would score a 5 on that mental acuity. Well, the one individual we hired was a 9, top 3% of the US population. And she doesn't even have English as her primary language. So that blew me away. And the second person we hired was a 6, which is at the college level or better. And again, English wasn't their primary language. So, and it's a timed assessment. So this is not something that you could, you do easily. I mean, most people that take it say, man, that was a chore to get through that. So I confirm the fact that you can find really good talent offshore. So now your company sources individuals from Latin America. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using people from Latin America versus in Asia?
Okay, so the first advantage is the time zone alignment, right? So, and in one case, by the way, it could be a disadvantage, and I'll explain that too. So, it's an advantage because if those people that you're looking to hire offshore are going to be working with your team, and your team is in the U.S., or they're going to be working with your clients, having them in the same time zone or similar time zones just makes a lot of sense, unless you're comfortable with hiring people who are working when they should be sleeping. And some people are okay with that. The exception is that you might have business operations, of course, in Asia or in Europe, in which case it might make sense to hire people working again in those same time zones. But that's pretty rare for most small and mid-sized businesses. There's also a little bit more cultural similarity with Latin America and the U.S. Population. So those are the major differences.
So for those of us that don't know Latin American geography, what time zones do Latin America? They're not in Eastern time zone, right? Or are they?
No, there might be some in Eastern. Like I know we have people in Brazil and Argentina who are actually an hour ahead. I'm in New York.
Right.
They're actually an hour ahead. It's hard to think of it that way, but it works. And then I think they're up to an hour behind. I don't think it's more than that.
Okay.
So it's right within,
So Atlantic time zone, Eastern and Central.
I think so. Yeah. I don't think we go into, I don't think they have the equivalent of a mountain.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. And I think some of these individuals that are in Asia are troopers because, we're having a meeting at 10 a.m. and it's 10 p.m. their time, and instead of like, good morning, it's like, well, have a good evening, so yeah. I know something that's really important to you. It's also important to me is culture. Can you share more about how that you mentioned in before the call that culture is the growth lever? How do companies leverage culture offshore, and how can they play into the fact that it can actually help their culture?
Well, so let's casually define culture. There's a million different definitions from it. A good friend of mine, Sean Bussey, has a great way of great definition of culture. It's the water that your team swims with. It's the other way to look at it is it's similar to like an employer brand, which is if you are a fly on the wall in a room full of former, current, and maybe prospective employees, what are they saying about your company as a place to work, right? So that's your culture. Now, every company, this is sometimes a shock to people, every company has a culture, whether they did it by default or by design, right? And I just gave a talk yesterday to a Vistage group, and I explained how the first business that I started of my own, which was 20 something years ago, that company was by default, and that culture was by default rather. And we never were a high performing organization. I had some good people there. We did some really cool things, but it was not a high performing organization. That was on me, by the way, 100% on me. Whereas with this company, with WorkBetterNow, my partner and I, literally in a bar in Portland, Oregon, when we decided to start the company, we said culture is going to be important, right? And by the way, it's never too late to fix a culture. And if you're curious what people are saying about what it's like to work in your company, just go to your browser, type in Glassdoor, and type your company name, and you're going to find out. So when it comes to offshore people and culture, in a way, there's not much of a difference. I mean, there is a difference in that they're remote, right? And as I said, you should be thinking about offshore just as another extension of remote. Remote does require a few things that you may not need for a thriving in-person culture. Number one, you need to over-communicate because there's no water cooler, right? There's no leaning back to the person next to you and saying, well, what was that all about? So you need to over-communicate, which also means you need to have the right tools. Chat is helpful. You have to be careful that doesn't get overused. And repeating things in different mediums, like on a video call. We have a weekly staff call as an example, because 80% of our team 75% now that we hired a bunch of salespeople here in the US. 75% of our team is down there. We have a weekly all staff call every week, in addition to departmental L10s. It's an EOS term for those of you who are not EOS. It's just a departmental meeting that follows a certain format. So, and actually to that end, having some sort of operating system to follow, like an EOS or scaling up, and there's others, is really helpful with remote. That helped us a lot. We adopted EOS probably 2021 or 2022, right when we were just hitting the beginning of that growth curve. And it was very helpful because it was a way to make sure that there's no mystification. And that's one of the killers I see in business is mystification. And when I'm in New York, sorry about the siren. When you're remote, mystification can happen a lot more frequently. So it's really just being intentional, mostly being intentional about communication. And then this other stuff that would apply to in-office. One of the things I don't see a lot of businesses doing that's so easy, and everybody's craving this, and it really is important in remote and of course offshore, is just having a formal recognition system. It's not that hard to do, but it's important to do that, especially important to do that when you're remote.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned EOS, scaling up, those are important operating systems. Are you going to be going to the EOS conference next week in Kansas City?
I'm not. It's the first one in a few years that I'm not going to be able to make.
Okay. Yeah. So we may have met there, Rob. I know we officially met at Strategic Coach, but I've been there. This will be my 10th conference.
I think we did meet there because when we met at Coach, your name was familiar. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun conference.
Yeah, it's Kansas City, and they change it every year, but rumor has it that it may be back there next year. So, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about AI and some of the trends that you're seeing. What trends are you seeing with AI and how it's impacting your clients?
So interestingly, with some exceptions, we're not seeing small and mid-sized businesses jumping on the AI bandwagon in a meaningful way. I mean, using an LLM to edit a document or get some thought partnership. Yeah, but there's obviously the potential is much, much greater. There are plenty of exceptions. And I personally encourage business owners, to the leaders of companies, to get your hands dirty with AI. And when I say get your hands dirty, take a hands-on course that will have you building things with AI, whether it's agents or websites or something, because that will give you a really good idea. It certainly did for me, a really good idea of what the potential is and where all of this is going. Maybe even at the very least, get a weekly newsletter that's giving you updates on what's going on with AI. That's just a starting point. We were pretty, I'll speak about our AI journey. And I just put up a solo podcast episode and a Substack on this about our AI journey. So, we're a company that, because we're serving small and mid-sized businesses with the type of talent that could theoretically be replaced by AI. So we aggressively jumped on the AI bandwagon. We encouraged our team back in 2023 to start experimenting and using it, and we had AI show and tell. And where we are today is now we're trying to be this AI first company. What does that mean to us? AI first. And again, we're not seeing a lot of clients do this yet. AI first means changing the workflow so that instead of our staff doing the work, AI is doing the work and they're managing AI, the AI agents or bots, whatever you want to call that. And it's not just to get efficiencies. It's really also to improve productivity. It's not about, AI is going to now do the same workflow. It's about how can AI actually make that workflow, the outcomes from that workflow, much more effective. That's how we're thinking about it. And the reason we're going in pretty aggressively this year is we have something called the WBN Academy. That's a continuous learning program. We are going to be AI enabling our WorkBetterNow certified professionals that work for our clients. Some of them are already really talented with AI, but a lot of them are not, so that when our clients are ready to use AI more thoroughly, if you will, throughout the organization, our people are going to be assets and not liabilities in that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you've not seen your business be impacted by AI. If I'm an economist, right, and I'm looking from the outside in, and I'm thinking, well, where I see small to mid-sized businesses cutting jobs is in these entry level to low managerial, and your business is actually doing really well despite AI.
I had a conversation yesterday when I was doing this Vistage presentation, and somebody said, should I get somebody to help me with this type of a role, or should I have AI do it? And I said immediately, if you have the tools to build whatever you need to build with AI, for AI to do that work, that's what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. But he was like, I'm not really there, So the market is going to force people within a few years to get more aggressive, to avoid a lot of pain. The market's just not there yet.
Yeah. So where do you see your business 5 years from now?
Yeah. It's a great question. A question we get asked is, are we going to be doing AI services? I don't think so. You never say never. As much as we have an idea of where everything's going, you just never know. But I do see us doing what we're doing today for a lot more companies. We have some very aggressive growth plans. And we're known as, WorkBetterNow. They have those those AI enabled professionals that these are people that know how to manage AI.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to fix it. They know how to get better results out of it, etc.
Which of the AI do you use? Chat, or Claude, or Gemini?
I'm using a little bit of everything. There's people out there that study which LLM has better processing power, and I'm less interested in that. To me, the play with AI LLMs is really in the interfaces they have. So, for example, and there's, I think several I have a browser extension from Claude, right, which allows me to, when I'm looking at a website, have AI right then and there look at that website. It's very helpful for my Substack, because most AI engines, when you're working within the engine, not a browser extension, actually can't access Substack for some reason, way beyond my pay grade. And I like Claude Cowork a lot, because it's really powerful. It's a really powerful tool. So to me, I'm about the interfaces. At my company, we're using something called HATZ, HATZ, which allows people on the team to use different LLMs, but in a very safe and secure environment, while piping into different data sources like HubSpot.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, we have an enterprise license for ChatGPT, which protects our stuff, and so I have our teams using it, and it's been great. We've seen some real economies of scale. There's times where there's some hallucinations and some drift, and we've been testing this salary model where we can actually, when clients say, "Hey, I'm looking for number 2 in Davenport, Iowa, in manufacturing with this revenue and this many employees," we can say, "Okay, the compensation for this is X," and it's been pretty amazing. But sometimes it kind of drifts and it makes its own things up, and so I've actually had one of my employees put the same exact information that I put in, and it came out with a different answer. Yeah. And so, we kind of had to scold it. And so we got it fixed, which it's working flawlessly now. But I'll use Grok for some things, Perplexity for some things. That's interesting. So
I go back and forth between different models. As well.
I was talking with a colleague, Evan Ryan, who was on the podcast right before this one. And he said to me, "Alec, if I had told you 30 years ago that your firm would be non-existent because people had the ability to apply online, you would say, that's preposterous." And he's thinking that's what AI is now, that it probably will not impact our industry of helping clients with talent. It's just going to be a different way, which I thought was insightful. So,
I would agree. If I had my crystal ball, I would agree with that too. I think what AI is going to do for you, just like what it's in a similar way, what it's doing for us, is it's going to improve the outcomes. Maybe you'll be able to produce results faster, produce results better. I'll give you an example. Because I think this would help people understand. Again, I'm not in the recruiting department. I'm the visionary of the company, and a little under a year ago, I was thinking, I know small and mid-sized businesses are not usually great with hiring. Spoiler alert, right? And that certainly includes job descriptions. Now, we get job descriptions, and our client consultants work with our clients to make sure that they are accurate. But I said, this is about a year ago with ChatGPT, why don't I just create a GPT that helps us create better job descriptions? Mm-hmm. And, we've been beta testing it, and the results are off the charts. That's a great example of how AI is helping us do better work. Just like there's tools like the salary tool you mentioned that can help you do better work and faster, and clients get delighted.
Yeah.
And candidates too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I want you to share just a story where you've really helped a client transform, get out of some pain points that, maybe they were struggling with, and then they hired your company and now they are in better shape.
Yeah. I have two clients in mind, actually both in the logistics business. In fact, the one of the clients was referred to by the other client. And logistics companies, dispatchers, customer service, inside sales, and they both were really struggling. They're not only struggling finding truckers, or in the case of one logistics firm, or the one that's here in New York, finding messengers and stuff like that, but they were really struggling finding good people at reasonable salaries to work in their businesses in the United States. And one's been a client now for 6 years, has, I think, 10 or 12 offshore people. The other one's coming up on like 35 offshore people. Has been a client for about 4 years. And here's the really cool part. If you ask them, and not maybe necessarily in a public way, but if you ask them, what is their experience like with offshore talent, particularly in this case, our talent, they will say that they're among our best performers. Not we're saving money, that might come after, but they're amongst our best performers. And that's enabling us to keep our clients really happy.
Yeah, that's incredible. Love that. Love that. So, Rob, people that are interested in some offshore talent, they're interested in learning more about what you do, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can check out our website, WorkBetterNow.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you're going to connect, I don't usually accept blind connections, so just mention that you saw me on the show. And then also, if you're interested in my insights on talent and culture and this, what we call the New Talent Playbook, just go to New Talent Playbook Substack, and you'll find the podcast and the Substack and a link to the book as well. Okay.
And is your book on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's available pretty much anywhere, but I'm not sure if anywhere really matters other than Amazon, in all the formats that you would care to read it in or listen to it.
All right. Well, Rob, thanks so much for being on the RightFit Leader podcast.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you, Alec.
Thanks for listening to RightFit Leader, brought to you by VisionSpark. Have questions or ready to hire your RightFit Leader? Email us at discover@vision-spark.com. Until next time, remember VisionSpark is your go-to partner for finding leaders and building teams.